This video has been on my list to make for ages, and then my husband comes up from the backyard last weekend with this basket full of juicy Maya lemons off our tree. So the time is perfect to share this video and soap recipe with you. Today I'm making cold processed soap with lemon juice, which is quite fun, a bit of an adventure, and also really useful because lemon juice has a good amount of citric acid in it. So it's an alternative to adding citric acid powder to your soap recipes. Fresh juices from ripe fruit like these are also full of natural sugars, which help to boost the lather of your soap recipes. If you're new here, hi, my name is Ellie and I share tutorials and recipes across two channels on YouTube, Ellie's Everyday Soap Making and Ellie's Everyday Whole Grain Sourdough. If you're a beginner here, please check out the description below this video where I'll share links to my beginner tutorials and everything else related to this recipe video. So why add citric acid to your soap recipes? Citric acid in soap acts as a chelating agent, binding with the metal ions present in hard water, which reduces soap scum and helps slow down the oxidization of soap-making oils, which ultimately extends the shelf life of your soap. I find this really useful because I'm often using up old bottles of oil that I'm given or that I've had around for a while. Ideally, we'd all use super fresh oil in our soap recipes, but I know that's not the reality for many of us, and I'd rather make the most of what I have rather than waste precious resources. Whether I'm using the skin of the lemons or just the juice, I always wash my fruit before processing it. Citrus fruit can hang on the tree for a long time before it's harvested, so it's good to clean them well with a good scrub under fresh water. I thought I might use some of the zest of these lemons in my soap, so I grated some of it, but you'll see that later I didn't end up using it, and I'll explain why not when we get to that part. The most important thing I needed to extract from these lemons was their juice, and wow, my lemons were so ripe and soft, they were absolutely full of juice. If you've got hard, unripe lemons, just leave them out for a week or two and let them ripen. You'll know they're ripe when they've got a bit of softness to them. You'll get a lot more juice out of them that way, and they'll also have more sugars in them. If you're using Maya lemons like these, their juice is about 4% citric acid by weight. So you'll need 315 grams of Maya lemon juice for this recipe to achieve 1% citric acid of the base soap oils used in the recipe. If you're using regular lemon varieties, not Maya lemons, they have more citric acid in them, so you'll need only 250 mils or 250 grams of fresh lemon juice. Don't worry though, I'll put all of these little details in the written post on my website. This recipe only applies to fresh lemon juice, not store-bought bottled juice. And it's really important to know that when you add citric acid to soap recipes, the lye amount needs adjusting. So please do your homework and calculate a new recipe for yourself unless you have Maya lemons and use the same oils that I used in this recipe. Once you have your lemon juice squeezed, strain out any pulp and measure 315 mils or 315 grams of the juice into a jug. We need a total of 355 grams of liquid for this recipe, but only 315 grams of juice to get the right citric acid amount. So we need to add 40 grams of water to bring the total liquid amount to 355 grams. If you're using non-Maya lemon type lemon juice, you'd need 250 grams of fresh juice with 105 grams of water to make the 355 grams total. Just add the water to the juice and stir them to combine. Then pop that into an ice cube tray and freeze it for a few hours until it's solid. We'll be using this iced juice mixture to make the lye solution for the soap. Next, I start preparing my other ingredients. I'm still trying to use up my stash of palm oil, so I'm using 441 grams of that in this recipe. Please don't berate me for using palm oil. I've got my reasons and I've made videos about it to explain that if you're interested. I'm also just trying to use it up, so waste not, want not. You can also use tallow or lard in place of palm oil. If you have those available to you, they will work great in this recipe. In with the palm oil, I add 315 grams of coconut oil, which I had sitting out in the sun to melt because it's quite cool here. Palm fruit and coconut oils are the two hard fats I'm using in the recipe, so I put them together into one jug and very, very gently melted them together in the microwave. I know there are a lot of microwave haters out there, but I honestly cannot find any evidence whatsoever to suggest that there's anything wrong with doing this. Just use a low power setting, go really slow and low heat, and stir it frequently as you go, and it will just be a lovely, gentle melting method. While those are melting together, I measure my liquid oils, and for this recipe, I'm using a simple combination of canola and castor oil. For the canola, we'll need 441 grams, which is the same amount as the palm oil. And for castor oil, we need only 63 grams. Next, I put my gloves and my safety goggles on and weighed out the sodium hydroxide, which will become the lye solution that turns my oils into soap. Please know what you're doing when handling this ingredient. It's highly corrosive and you really must protect your eyes and your skin at all times when making soap from scratch. Carefully weigh 185 grams of sodium hydroxide into a container, put the lid on it straight away and place it somewhere secure until you're ready to make the soap. This sodium hydroxide amount has been adjusted to account for the citric acid in my lemon juice, which consumes some of the lye. You'll notice in the bottom left corner of the screen that I've got a little bowl of dried calendula flowers there. I didn't end up using those, so please ignore that. Next, I prepared my essential oils, which are totally optional, but I wanted to add some to this recipe. For a fresh lemony scent, I used 9 grams of lemon myrtle essential oil, 10 grams of Litsi cubia, and 12 grams of cedar atlas essential oil. The lemon juice doesn't give any fragrance to this soap, and lemon essential oil isn't well suited for soap recipes, so these are good alternatives that you can use in small amounts, or you can just leave the soap unscented. It will still be really beautiful. Now that I have all of my ingredients ready, the last thing is to prepare my workstation, get my molds ready, and wait for my lemon juice ice cubes to be fully frozen. I started off with a beautiful sunny winter's day on this day, but then the clouds came over, so I lost my nice lighting, but never mind. A bit of a extra work light saved the day. And once everything was ready to go, it was time to make the soap. The first step is to put the lemon juice ice cubes into a jug to make the lye solution. Making sure you've got your safety goggles and your gloves still on, carefully pour the sodium hydroxide granules over the ice and start mixing. The ice cubes will melt as they start reacting with the lye, and eventually you'll have a golden orange coloured lemon juice lye solution. It was such an amazing colour that it was at this point where I decided not to use the grated lemon zest or the calendula petals that I'd prepared. I really just wanted to see the colour of this soap without them added. And I'm glad I chose that option because they looked so nice in the end, and yeah, it was just good to see what they'd be like just with the lemon juice. Once my lye solution was mixed, I added my melted hard fats into my liquid fats or my liquid oils and stirred them together. It's totally optional, but I decided to add in a little bit of white kaolin clay, so I put a heaped teaspoon of that into the oils and blended it through thoroughly. Then I did a quick temperature check, and I was very happy to see that both my lye solution and my oils were perfect at around 40 degrees Celsius, which is around about 102 Fahrenheit. You don't want your oils or your lye solution to be too hot, or your soap could thicken up too quickly. To mix the soap batter, I carefully poured my lye solution into the oils using a strainer to filter out any small beads of undissolved lye, which is really important when you're using ice for your lye solution. And because of the palm oil and coconut oil in this recipe, along with the sugars in the lemon juice, I blended this batch only for a couple of short bursts with my stick blender to begin the emulsification, and then I hand stirred it the rest of the way. If you're using individual molds, you want to keep this batter as fluid as you can for as long as you can, so try not to overblend it. I kept a really close eye on this, and as soon as I could feel it thickening, I quickly added the essential oil, mixed that through thoroughly, and thankfully my molds were laid out on boards ready to go, so I grabbed them as I stirred and then poured the soap. I poured the soap batter back into my large jug, and that made it a lot easier. Slowly and carefully I poured the soap batter into the molds. This batch made almost 18 full flower soaps, which was perfect for my 3 molds of 6 soaps each. I love this part of soap making. That moment when you realize you mixed it just enough, but not too much that it got too thick to pour. You could absolutely make this soap in log molds too, which would be easier, but not as cute, I don't think. I really love these flower soap molds, as many of you probably know. My soap was starting to thicken by the end of the pour, but I just evened the bars out as best as I could. I gave some of the thicker ones a little spiral swirl with my chopstick to even out the lumps, and I think they came out pretty good. The final touch was to spray these with alcohol, which helps reduce soda ash on the bars. Then I put them into my slightly warm oven for a little while. I eventually took them out of the oven and put them in my large cooler wrapped in a blanket overnight because I needed the oven. This often happens to me, which is generally why I use the cooler. And this is where things got interesting. I'm so used to making simple soaps in log molds that saponify quite quickly, usually within the first day or so. So I was a bit dismayed when I took these out a day later and discovered that they were still really caustic and hadn't yet saponified. I freaked out a bit, to be honest, since I'd spent the whole day the day before calculating, preparing, and filming the recipe. I honestly thought I'd made a mistake in my calculations, or maybe my lemon juice had a lot less citric acid in it than I thought, so I was a bit disappointed. But then I thought for a bit and realised that it might be okay, it might just need more time, and that's what turned out to be the case. It was probably the fact that it's winter here. The soap batter was not very warm and not very well insulated in the individual molds, which can slow down the saponification process. And, perhaps the citric acid slows things down a bit too, even though I did adjust the lye amount. I'm not sure, but some soap recipes do take longer to saponify, particularly in individual molds where there's not much gelling happening. I felt a bit more hopeful after taking out one of the bars on the first day, and I hot processed it in the microwave, which is a nice quick way to see if the soap recipe is okay or not. Thankfully, that test bar did completely saponify after I hot processed it, so I felt confident that the rest of the batch would be okay in a couple of days' time. And here is the soap 3 days later on Monday morning. All of the bars were smooth and fully saponified, and they tested perfect with my pH test strips, so it worked. The only caveat I'd say about this recipe now is that you never really know how much citric acid exactly is in your lemon juice, so it's a bit of a gamble, but I think if you calculate a decent superfat into your recipe, at least 5%, maybe even up to 8 or 9%, I did 5%, then you should be okay. Either way, I am very happy with this soap. It smells great, it looks wonderful. It helped me to use up some more of my old palm oil and canola oils that I've been trying to use up bit by bit in each new video recipe that I share. And it's a lovely soap with a rather nice lather too. I used the little hot process bar to test the lather, and yeah, it's a really, really nice soap. I love the way it feels. Have you tried lemon juice in your soap recipes or other citrus juices? How did you calculate them? How did they go? I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you want to chat with me there. And don't forget to see the description for all of the resources you will need for this recipe. Have a brilliant day. Thanks for all of your support, and I'll see you again soon.